Thanks for listening, everyone. We appreciate you spending some time with us, and we'll see you again. Don't forget, we're everywhere: Spotify, Apple Pods, wherever you get your podcast. You should be able to find us. Untamed with Chris O and Super Frankie. Check it out and tell your friends.
Recording in progress.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Untamed with Chris O and the one and only Super Frankie Disco that we all know and love. And today, a very, very special gentleman, a Canadian musical icon, a world musical icon, Gil Moore. Thank you, sir, for joining us today. We appreciate you.
Hey, my pleasure being on, Chris. Nice to see you, Frank.
Nice to see you, Gil. So just so everybody knows, we came on a little late, but Gil and I started talking about what he's doing to reinvent himself, and I was very excited to hear. And Chris got on a touch late as usual. No, just kidding. Normally it's me, uh, but Gil, so you're about to go on tour. I hope you can tell us about that. But the second thing is, you were just talking about how you're reinventing yourself, and I asked, what does that mean? So, what does that mean when a guy who is so crazy successful like you, who's done so many tours, the songs that are played at the beginning of hockey games and baseball games, what does that mean? Reinvent yourself.
Well, Frank, I've always thought we need to be lifelong learners. And, that's what I'm trying to do. So, just to, kind of go back and do the same thing and go down the same path and the same footsteps doesn't make sense to me. So, digging back and really dialing in the drums and the singing and so on, I went back to the earliest things I learned. And then what I tried to do on top of that is I tried to get with some young instructors that are into some new techniques and that have seen the changing in what I'll call the state of the art over the years, and try to say, okay, I don't know anything. I'm a 10-year-old kid. Let's just start from ground zero. And it's been amazing. Like on drums, the first thing I did is I reinvented my grip, which is a huge change. In singing,
you align that with golf because you're a golfer. So I know that you're the. So what does that mean? So how did you hold it in the past? So
wrong. That's how I held them. And I mean, it's like, I'll give you an example, Frankie. I'm watching Ringo Starr on YouTube, and they're interviewing him, and they're saying, well, how did you learn? And he said, well, I never learned. Otherwise, why would I play this way? Because he plays backwards. And I thought that was interesting because, that's how I learned, is watching him and watching Charlie Watts. So back in, when we started, we didn't have really good instruction, whereas now, the education level has just gone way through the roof. And it's fun being a kid again and learning again.
But would you say that some of the best musicians were self-taught? It's like they almost had a little on their own, Is that would that be a truthful statement?
Yeah, I mean, I think, everybody was really self-taught. And, what's happened now is there's a lot more science, again, similar to golf. Like golfers back in the day, they kind of figured it out and dug it out of the dirt, and there's nothing wrong with that. But now there's a lot of science. There's video behind it. There's analytics behind it. They use lasers. And so technology just gets better. So I think that's the same thing, the sharing of information as well online. So I've listened to so many, vocal instructors just talking about singing and their opinions and, whatever aspect of it, resonance or breath control or whatever. And I'm just trying to keep my ears open and take in as much as I can and learn as I'm going along.
So we're going to ask you towards the end about the tour, but I wanted to ask you, the last time we spoke about 2 months ago, you said, Frankie, come by the studio. I love music and maybe we can record something for our thing. But you said to me that you were on a workout regimen, and that was a really big thing for you because these tours take a lot of toll on the body. So tell us about the workout regimen.
Yeah, well, that was just along with the singing and the drums. It was back into the gym. I have a gym in my house, but I actually joined a private gym out here in Mississauga, a really great one called One Fitness, and had to keep going at it hard in there. And they've got some great equipment again, more than I have in my home gym. And it's also a little bit of inspiration, I think, just being there in front of other people as opposed to being in your home gym. I have my set of drums in my gym at home, though. So So I mix it up, so sometimes when I'm at home, I'll do drums and then weights, and then drums and then weights, and then stretch and then drums and then vocals and then weight, mix it up. When I go to One Fitness, it's just all either upper body or lower body.
Okay. And is there much cardio?
I don't do a ton of cardio because,
No.
I've been telling all my friends, like, get rid of your treadmill and just buy a set of drums. That's all the cardio you'll ever need.
Because you're sweating like crazy by the end of it.
Yeah, drums is the best instrument, I'll tell you. Our friends up at Baycrest, in the dementia care aspect, they have unraveled a lot of mysteries of the brain, as we know, and their friends at McMaster and the Live Lab have done the same. And we're finding out that playing drums is actually very good for your brain. It really fires a lot of neural pathways. So thank God I got that helping me out.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
We lost his audio.
Chris.
Frank, we lost your audio.
There we are.
My audio? I think we lost yours, Chris.
Oh, both of ours then.
Okay, yeah, no, I was just saying, ask away, ask what you're dying to ask Gil, because I know it's exciting to have him on.
It is exciting. Actually, one of the questions I want to know, you've done music for so long. You're so well known by so many of us, especially that grew up listening to Triumph and listening to you. And what has been, the best part of being a musician and being kind of a globally recognized star?
And don't say girls. Don't say girls.
Don't say girls.
I know what Mickey Dolenz once said from the Monkees when he was asked that question. He said it beats packing boxes. That's a pretty good answer too.
Yeah.
No, I'd have to say, in all seriousness, you kind of like, sort of sold my soul to the Church of Rock and Roll at an early age. And it turned out to be like a great decision because, I don't know if I was a square peg in a round hole or vice versa, but, we all have to find our way in life. And I think that if you're determined, I don't care what it is, whether you're trying to be play sports, or you're trying to be a great doctor, or you're trying to be, a great businessman like you, Frankie, like you built a massive company by being very, very persistent and very fair with people. You have to have that attitude to go at it. And I think music is a good path to teach people that. It's hard to learn an instrument. It's hard to be good at it, I should say. And if you do it professionally, which is, I'm not sure I would advise that for everyone, but it's extremely competitive, like pro sports. If you don't do it competitively and you use it as a hobby, it's the best hobby you will ever have, because you can do it till you're 100 years old. No one will ever stop you. It'll always feel good, and you'll always be exercising your brain every time you do music.
Yeah, no, I think you're looking at it from the right standpoint. I think that some people go into it for the wrong reasons, and I think that, if you're lucky enough to find something like you that and you like it, and then just keep going, it's great. So that's, yeah, similar to us in business. I didn't love business per se, but I liked selling ish, and now I really like it. So thank God that I really like it, because it makes life a lot easier. And so that's really interesting, Gil. Now, in terms of like the health sciences, I'm actually playing tennis right now with a guy that works with the Drake crew. And, I was shocked at some of the things that they're getting on ventilators, stuff for their blood right after concerts. They treat it like a real sport. And I think that that's what your goal is, right? Because you're on tour for how long now after your plan is, how long is the tour?
Well, my plan's a little different than Live Nation's plan. My plan is we agreed to do 27 shows.
Wow.
I think they're thinking 127. So we'll see how that plays out.
Wow.
But to your point, Frankie, I mean, you're dead right. Like, we do the same thing. We treat it like a sports team. I mean, that's one of the reasons I love playing arenas, is because when we're down, say, at Scotiabank Arena here in Toronto, and we go into that dressing room and you realize all the sports stars that you admire so much, that, they sat here, this is where they changed. It's cool because it makes you feel like an athlete, even though you're not.
Yeah.
But no, we're doing this.
you don't see a lot of fat singers, right? I mean, anymore.
You want to see my Molson muscle?
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
like
working on it.
yeah.
That's awesome. Hey, Gil, I was wondering, I mean, obviously like we just talked about the big arenas and the attraction to that, right? What's some of the smaller venues you played over the years where you're like, man, that was a really cool vibe in that venue?
Well, when we first started, I will say this, because you start in the smallest of small venues. I mean, my first gig was at the Constellation Hotel playing at a wedding for 50 people. But with Triumph, if I start there, some of the nightclubs that we played back in the day, like the Gasworks and the Nob Hill and, places like that, I mean, they were special because when we come in to play there, not the first time, but by the second, third time, it was like you felt like Led Zeppelin because you walk in and you could just feel the place go, wow, yeah, let's go, whoa. So even though it's only, 300 people or 400 or however big, the enthusiasm is so intense when we were playing in those clubs. And that was unlike the bands that all three of us had before Triumph, because I had my share of like audiences not liking my band and not getting asked to come back, maybe even getting fired once in a while. So, and Rick experienced the same, Mike experienced the same, but with Triumph it was different. We played those small clubs, people were lined up when we would come to play. There'd be a lineup outside the building. It was a fantastic feeling.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
Gil, so you've explained to me before that you don't really love to travel. So what happens here? What are you guys in a bus? How does this work?
So that's an interesting one. So first of all, I'm taking two of my three children with me,
Okay,
traveling with me. So whether we're flying or whether we're on the
that's
bus, I've
nice.
got
You got the crew with you. That's nice.
yeah, I've got Holly and Miles with me. As and so actually the first half of the tour we're mostly flying. The second half we're on a bus because the flying is not really conducive to the itinerary in the second half. So you're not wrong. Like I hate travel, but this is a different, I don't
It's
know.
nice
It's
when
a
you have the
different
fan with
mindset.
you. You're not away from them. You feel like you're with them. No, that's nice. That's nice. And I think you're right. That's a big part of it. I love to I love to travel, but missing my kids is a big part of why I don't like to travel. I never even thought of it that way, actually. I have, I'm sure that there's a lot, like, when guys do the Jeep wave, there's a little respect amongst guys who own the Jeep or motorcycles. And I'm sure there's that with you and musicians. Now, if you were ever starstruck, what was one musician you were starstruck with?
Well, it probably goes back to when I first started playing. So Al Jackson and Booker T and the MGs, he was my go-to drummer. I just
You know
thought
who
he
that
was
is, Chris?
incredible.
Chris, you know who that
I know
is?
who Booker T is. I've heard of that.
Yeah. Well, look it up. Look up Green Onions or Red Beans
Okay.
and Rice and play it on
Okay.
Spotify. You'll get a kick out of it.
What about
And
now?
kind of,
What about someone now? Maybe someone now that like maybe some of our listeners would know.
well, Holly was a big fan of Lady Gaga, so she kind of got me into Lady Gaga a
Oh,
bit, and I think she's a great artist. But if you were asking me, like, what did I come across that, knocked me back a bit? The first time I heard Chris Stapleton sing like two notes,
oh,
I
okay.
went, I love that guy. Just like, I mean, literally like the half of the first verse of one song, and I just went, I love this guy. So that happens.
Yeah,
That's
You like
yeah.
awesome.
Chris Stapleton?
That's awesome.
Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Do you
I know
like
who Chris
you like Chris
Stapleton is.
Stapleton?
Yeah, yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
I listen to everything. I just like let my DJ and then I mess with my algorithms to play all different types of music and then stuff surprises
Okay.
me. And then Chris Stapleton popped up one time on my here's your recommended. So it was good.
Okay, okay. Well, guys, I'll tell you very quickly. My favorite song of all time is "Sailing." Chris,
Oh
what's your favorite
yeah.
song of all time? What's your
My
favorite song of all time?
of all
Just pick
time?
one.
No, I'm
Yep,
not picking one.
pick one.
I don't
Pick one.
know. Don't
You
tell
don't
me.
have one?
I
Okay, Gil,
actually
what do you think is the greatest song of all time?
Greatest song of all time is undoubtedly Danny Boy. That's my favorite song. But I will
oh,
say this,
old
as
school.
far as bands that are still around that are from my era that are my favorite, ZZ Top's my favorite band.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
ZZ Top. I love it. I love it. They're so
Very
badass. You're
cool.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
Billy
right.
Gibbons.
What
Billy
time are we
Gibbons
at,
knows how to
Chris?
bend
What
a
time are
note.
we at, Chris?
Uh, where are we at? We got about 6 minutes, and then we'll give Gil an extra few minutes to for his get ready for his
Well,
next interview.
he's got 11 o'clock. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to scare
Yeah.
him. But
Let's go
We're okay.
6.
We're at 10:48.
Chris,
Yeah.
I, I could ask Gil questions all day. Go for it, Chris.
Well, actually, I wanted to ask about this tour coming up. How did it all come to be? Like, what was did you get approached? Did you guys come together and say, let's do one?
Well, it started with me saying no for 30 years, and then a series of unexpected circumstances, I guess you'd say. Like, the first thing that happened, first of all, there's been a chorus from our fans, like this relentless, please tour, please tour, please tour. That's been going on for decades. But then what happened sort of in quick succession is like there was a documentary on the band Rock and Roll Machine, which probably you guys have seen. And that sort of lit up our fan base, but a whole new generation of fans. Our record company said, okay, it's time to tour. You got this great. And we went, no, did you not hear what we just said? For the last 25 years, we're not touring.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
said, okay, we're going to release a tribute album. So they hire Mike Clank, who's like the greatest rock producer in the 80s,
Yeah.
done Guns N' Roses and everybody
Yeah.
else. Mike puts together an amazing tribute album with kind of the biggest and best singers and drummers and guitar players, like a who's who of rock royalty from the 80s. The tribute record comes out, that stokes the fire. Then the NHL and Rogers kick in, as you mentioned earlier, Frankie, with all the hockey stuff up here in Canada, where they're playing Triumph like the national anthem during the playoffs. And then they got so crazy. They said, you got to come out here and play in Edmonton when the Panthers in the NHL finals. So I called Rick and I said, do you want to do this for a lark? I said, I always wanted to play in the NHL, and I was destined to drive a Zamboni. This is probably the best thing that's ever happened to me. And he said, yeah, let's do it for a lark. Let's do it for a lark. Let's take our kids. So it became like a family vacation, funny movie thing to go and do it. But of course, when we did it, and Phil was on stage with Rick, and then Brent and Todd were there too, the next thing you know, that's when Live Nation saw the band. And then that's when they sort of turned the tables and just went, you guys have to tour. And, I relented. So here we are. That's how it rolled out. I'm glad I did. It's going to be fun.
Oh, for sure. But what's it like? What's it
Well,
like?
you guys have to obviously document this tour.
100%.
Sorry?
Go ahead,
So go
Frank.
ahead, Chris.
No, go, Frank. You go first.
Oh no, I obviously have to document the tour because it's so fun to watch these things live and the videos that are happening. So well, obviously you'll have someone documenting it. So I'm excited to see the wackiness of these new tours, and you get to see the ins and outs, so much closer these days. And I love I mean, this is a bit of a segue into social media. Do you do any, or do your fans or your people in your background? How do you deal with that?
Well, I'm not on social media personally, but like all the bands, they all have social media accounts, and they just get the management companies kind of run them. So,
Okay.
to
So is
try
that what you guys do? You guys have like a management company kind of running the accounts and
oh yeah, yeah. Our managers, Jason Murray and Vector Management, they do a phenomenal job. They've got 60 people working on everything you can imagine. So they're the pros.
That's
you
awesome.
don't do it yourself at all. You don't find you have the time or
No, but we get dragged into it, of course, because they go, hey, can you go on camera and say this? Can you say that? And
of course.
sometimes it feels kind of weird, and I'm kind of going, no, I really can't do that. I try to have fun with it. I like joking around. Everybody that knows me knows I like joking. So I'm always trying to turn it into something funny as opposed to something serious.
And that's what we all want. And that's what I like. That's what I think that's what most people want. They want to see the funny part. They want to see the real you. And Chris,
Yeah.
I know that I can tell you're closer to the a camera than you normally are. So I
Sure.
know that you're dying to ask a question. Give it to him.
All right. This is my last question. So Gil, one thing that I always want to ask anybody like yourself who's been doing music for so long, who's just, accomplished what you guys have accomplished. What's it like knowing that your music is still so beloved that you can do this huge tour now, all these years later after not touring?
You're making him sound old, Gil. How old are you?
I'm 49 and holding.
There you go.
I'm younger than my golf score. How's that?
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I love it.
I'll tell you this in all seriousness. The answer to your question is really, it's a blessing because, you start out, you're a teenager. I can still remember my mom and dad, who, God bless them, letting my band literally practice in the living room. Can you imagine that? My
Yeah.
mom they had a nice living room with a beautiful piano, and they let my greasy little grade 7 and grade 8 friends and I in there and set my drums up in the living room, use the piano. It's crazy. You look back on all that and you just say, you know what? My mom was very good on the piano and she played music all the time. My dad loved music, and somehow it got into my DNA. And I'm just thankful. The fact that Mike and Rick and I found each other and found an audience, that again is a blessing. It's a miracle. And you can look back and you go, there's a million great musicians that really never get past, the 1 yard line. They just never get launched. Finding an audience is a blessing. I don't know how it happens exactly. It's a combination. I think it's like chefs in the kitchen. Honestly, I think, sometimes you get 3 guys or 4 guys or whatever, and they just happen to be able to, chef up great food, and it happens. People like it. And the next thing you know, it kind of, as they say nowadays, goes viral, right? And that's kind of what happened with Triumph, even though it was pre-internet.
Gil, we have so many people on this show. We have, business leaders. We've got, people in music. We've got people in sports. We've got different writers. We've got people who are in motivation. And the common theme sometimes is often, like you just said, my mother was a musician. She played the piano, and your father loved music. And that's always a common theme that it's always in the parents and how you were brought up. So I can tell you were brought up by great parents, just by what you said there, and I'm sure I'm not wrong.
Frankie, this swings back to why I started the Sounds Unite charity, right? It's because like music education and the mental benefits of music should not be denied, to young people in Canada or anywhere else, because it is such an asset in not just their emotional well-being, their cognitive development, the whole package. We need music and we need sports for young people. And as the adults in society, we got to push back against seeing any sports or music cut back. In my opinion, we need to bring on the
two in
sports.
particular. You're so right.
Yeah, bring on the music and bring on the sports, and let's let kids get outside and have a good time and learn what it's like to be on a team, learn what it's like to have to take, lessons in sports or in music and develop a skill set. It's just empowering.
No,
I'm here
at the Boulevard Club, and I take some kids from Rexdale here to play in the basketball courts here. I take them to my golf club at Islington. I try to make that happen, a few times a year, just see different sports, even just participate, hang out, and see that there's opportunities and we've got a friend, the Delzados, who do a thing called Time to Play, and they really believe that the sports is what gets people to better places, like the camaraderie around sports, and then they meet someone and they go into business, and just being outside or playing music and doing something gets them a long way. So what you're doing with the charity and pushing, it's really great. I hope that I can send a few dollars after our golf tournament to that charity this year. And how long is, sorry, let's just ask about your tour, because we're getting towards the end. So tell us about your tour, and what does that look like?
Well, we're starting down in Florida, and actually we're starting with another great charity that we're supporting down there called Make-A-Wish, and I'm sure you've heard of Make-A-Wish.
Of course, wow.
So we're doing Orlando and Miami for Make-A-Wish, and then
when's Miami? When's Miami?
The Hard Rock Seminole, which is actually in Hollywood, Florida. So
I know
a little
well,
close
but when
to
is
Lauderdale.
it? When is it? Do you know the date?
13th, I believe, of April.
April, okay.
13th or 14th. It'd be on their website.
Okay.
But and then we go to your friend Patrick's Arena in Sault Ste. Marie, of all places, right? To GFL Gardens, and we play in Sault Ste. Marie. We're going to a couple of days of rehearsal up there as well. And then after that, we come down to Toronto and play Scotiabank Arena. And then the next day, we're in Hamilton at TD Coliseum. And, we go on from there. We play out in Western Canada. Eastern Canada a little bit, and then most of the dates are in the States. I'd say like 20 of the shows are probably in America. And we couldn't cover the whole country, of course, with 20 shows. And the areas we didn't go to, like California. There's no California shows. They're screaming at us. So
Yeah, I bet.
yeah, so
I bet.
there's a lot of cities screaming at us right now, saying, "Come on here!" So it's like we'll have to see how that plays out. But for the time being, it's those 27 shows. We wrap
Now, do
up
you
in
have
Boston on the 6th, I believe, of June.
so
Awesome.
Chris will can you tell us where would people buy tickets? Where do they go? Like Ticketmasters, that's the thing?
Yeah, Ticketmaster, or they can go onto our website if they'd like at triumphmusic.com and they can see the itinerary. But Ticketmaster, Live Nation's website, those are the places. One thing to be careful of is scams. There's somebody out there with a fake Gil Moore Facebook account selling backstage passes that are just
Oh,
completely
so
scams.
annoying.
Right. It really is annoying. It's just like the secondary ticket market, hosing people, people that are buy really good seats and then they want to flip them for $1,000 or $2,000. Makes me sick. But unfortunately, that's part of the game right now is putting up with that. Hopefully the legislators will figure out a way to fix scalping. I think there's some ideas now that are on the table that are pretty good.
Now, do you have somebody opening for you guys?
April Wine is opening every show.
Okay.
Nice.
Cool.
That's super. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I love April Wine's music, so I'm looking forward to having them out there. It's going to be great.
Fantastic. On that note, Gil, I know you got to go. I'm looking at the time.
Okay, well,
I don't
it's
want to
great
kick you
talking
off,
to you.
but I know you got to go.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, Gil.
You're awesome.
Okay.
Keep rocking.
Thank you very much.
Talk soon, Frankie.
Bye,
now.
guys.
Bye. Thanks, Gil.